Hello everybody and welcome to Star Wars on High. Thank you for stopping by. This is a video I've been wanting to make for a few weeks now, so I figured there's no better time than now. I wanted to go over my thoughts around the new animated series Maul Shadow Lord that was announced at Star Wars Celebration. And what better way to do that than to show you footage of me playing Maul in Battlefront 2 and getting absolutely demolished. So while Maul Shadow Lord was not what I was expecting them to announce, I still think the show could serve as something great when you consider all of the possibilities of what Maul could be up to between the events of Order 66 and where we find him in Star Wars Rebels. I talked with my friend Jordan about this briefly on the first episode of our new podcast, and while we didn't go into too much detail, it definitely got me thinking, especially with the talk of a potential Darth Talon introduction, which is where I want to start. We all know Darth Talon's story. She was a Twi'lek Sith and member of the One Sith during the storyline of Star Wars Legacy. In Legends, she was around about 175 years after the events of the original trilogy, so she's from well in the future. However, in recent articles and books that have been published, we learn that George Lucas really liked the design of Darth Talon and felt that she and Maul could have been a good master and apprentice duo. This was supposedly going to be part of the plan for George Lucas's sequel trilogy, where Maul was going to come back as the big bad with Talon as his apprentice. I personally wasn't a fan of the idea, especially since Talon and Maul were in completely different times in history, but I always figured that they would find some way to explain that away. But this new Maul series is showing that he may take on a new apprentice during the time of the Galactic Empire, as we have seen with leaked shots of a reddish-pink Twi'lek that we believe to be Darth Talon. I'm open to this idea, as I do think we need some interesting stories as to what Maul was up to during this time and how it landed him on Malachor. This also leads us into another potential storyline that was brought on by George's idea. Maul was going to be the head of a crime syndicate and would be running the underworld, much like we see in the end of Solo: A Star Wars Story. After Solo came out, there were some talks about making a trilogy out of it where we would learn more about the criminal underworld and Maul's role with Kira and Crimson Dawn. But now it looks like we'll be getting that story too. Since most of George's trilogy talk revolved around Maul, as there really isn't much that was said, it almost looks as if we could get a take on the sequel trilogy with this show. I am interested in all of the ideas so far, as I want to see what Maul plans. We know from Sam Witwer, who will be returning to voice Maul, that this show isn't meant to make Maul look like a hero, as it's going to be crime syndicates fighting for control of the underworld, but I think we're going to be in for some great storytelling. I think from the start we are going to be seeing Maul trying to evade the Empire as he finds a new base of operations. Somewhere along the road he finds Talon and starts her apprenticeship, and they begin to take on the syndicates. We do see some of this in the end of Clone Wars, as we do get one shot of Dryden Voss as a hologram, so we can definitely expect to see him back. And we can see how Maul rises to the top of Crimson Dawn as a result. And with all the talk of Crimson Dawn, I definitely like to see some type of a crossover between the storylines of Solo and Maul Shadow Lord, as I would hope that they would find a way to continue the story from that point, to see how involved Maul was with Kira, as well as to what happened with him losing his seat of power and what causes him to end up on Malachor. Maybe by gaining control of the underworld, he would have better access to spies and intel. This could come in handy when trying to look for someone who doesn't want to be found, such as Kenobi. It would also make sense that Maul would be going through these lengths to find Kenobi, as he's not just able to go straight to Tatooine since it's owned by the Hutt cartel. And that may pose some issues for Crimson Dawn, where they can't just show up looking for Jedi. However, it makes it easier for him to do it in Rebels since he's no longer associated with them. Perhaps that's where Talon comes in. Maybe she will take on a role in this show that is similar to Mara Jade as being the hand of the Emperor, with Maul using Talon as his assassin or spy to gain intel on other syndicates and the whereabouts of Kenobi. But we will also have to wonder what happens to her as well. Maybe she gets killed on Malachor, or maybe she dies well before that. Or maybe, just maybe, she's frozen in carbonite and is thawed out 150 years later, and we then get the Legacy series back into canon. I don't know, I'm just kind of letting my brain go at this point. But let me know what you think about all of these ideas. The more I think about it, the more I feel that this is going to be a great show. I expect it to go about 3 or 4 seasons unless the story is compelling enough to keep going. But let me know your thoughts down below. Thoughts on the show, Darth Talon coming back, how everything is going to play out. Let me know all about it down in the comments. As always, thank you to everyone who stuck around to this point in the video, and we hope to see you again very soon.